Giancarlo Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Left right field towards the corner. Gone!
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio. SVP and Russillo, the podcast.
Hey, it's SVP and Russillo. Appreciate you checking out the podcast. I was not in a great mood, which was evident. As I said, I just wouldn't bet on Mariota or Winston, and I'm sick and tired of people taking shots at Chip Kelly as if he's some kind of a buffoon when all he's been is a winner everywhere he's been. We asked Michael Wilbon what is he most interested in on a very busy Thursday evening, which obviously includes the NFL draft. Herm Edwards with memories of it and his thoughts on why he believes that Jameis Winston will be a success. Ryen explains why he doesn't blame any team that goes all in trying to find a quarterback. And we talk a little NBA as Billy Donovan's headed to OKC and Kevin Love is done for the rest of these playoffs. Podcast starts now.
SVP and Russillo.
It's quite a day. I mean, we talked earlier this week about how much is going on this week. You got to wait till Saturday for the Derby and the fight. But tonight you've got conference semis and Stanley Cup playoffs that get underway. A couple of series people are psyched about. A couple of big game sixes in the NBA tonight. So you're going to need to have a really good holder of the remote. Or if you're watching by yourself, your thumb is going to need to be bouncing around unless you just want to have one event you want to settle in on and just ride it out. And the NFL draft will take center stage for many just because it's the most popular sport in America. And we've waited a long time for this draft. And quarterbacks, I presume, will go 1-2. And Not only can I not convince myself that these guys won't be successes in the league, I wouldn't bet on it.
Okay, so if you had the number one pick, what would you do then?
If I'm Tampa Bay,
yeah,
try like hell to trade it. I'd try to move off it, but if I couldn't and I had to take a pick, I'd probably roll the dice given their quarterback situation. I don't know what I could do beyond that, because and I know at some point I think we may do this discussion. I love the talking point about having sympathy/empathy for the NFL teams who don't have quarterbacks. I just love your train of thought on that. But what I'm saying is, sitting here and where I sit, I don't have the burden of having to make a pick. I understand why Tampa Bay would take.
So just so we clear that up for the listeners, you're not in charge of any picks.
I am not.
Okay.
I don't have any mock drafts. I'm telling you today, I don't think either one of these guys. I wouldn't bet on either of these guys to be overwhelmingly successful in the NFL. I don't think that these guys are not only do I not think they're sure things, I think they're coin flips at best.
Both are.
Yes.
All right. So why? Let's say. I mean, I don't want to hear why you're up on these guys, because it doesn't sound like you are. I mean, it sounds like you're down on them. So why are you down on Winston? Why are you down on Mariota?
This draft class is at the top 1 through 10 a gigantic question mark. There are off the field issues. I don't know if Winston is the guy that his teammates and coaches adore and they would stand side by side with, or if he's a guy that's liable to self-destruct. You know, was 10 feet tall and bulletproof in Tallahassee and made silly decisions, but which we've said on this show, and I'll say again, we all made silly decisions.
Why don't you like him?
I don't think
we're saying things we've all heard before for months and months and months.
It's not It's not based on who they are or who they aren't. It's just based on the fact that the swing and miss rate at this position in the top 10 is staggering. You're far more likely to swing and miss than you are to hit.
Okay, so you're not really basing this then on who Winston is the player, or even really Winston the person.
Mariota,
you're basing it on
the swing and miss rate.
So because E.J. Manuel didn't work out, because Brandon Whedon didn't work out, because Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert didn't work out, Ponder didn't work out, Sanchez hasn't worked out. I went through all the top picks. I went through all the first rounders. So because the position is dangerous, that influences how you see the player.
Correct. This isn't specific to Jameis Winston and me not saying that I don't think he's a good quarterback. He might be. I'm saying that I wouldn't bet money that either of these guys are going to succeed because this is just analytics, statistics, advanced metrics. No, it's just called I Google. I mean, you could keep going. For every Cam and every Luck, and for every Ryen and every Flacco, and I'll give you Cutler too, back to 2006 if you want to go that far back. And even the Tannehills and the Bridgewaters. I don't know what Teddy Bridgewater is, but he was certainly capable. And if I got Tannehill as my quarterback, at least I got a guy that I think might give me a shot.
Would you trade the number 1 pick for Tannehill right now?
Of course not. Of course not. Because
you wouldn't.
No, because I might get lucky, and I might get one of the handful of guys, and I might not get Gabbert, Young, Jamarcus Russell, Locker, Ponder, Leinart, Manuel, Whedon, Robert Griffin III, Tebow, Manziel, Josh Freeman, Brady Quinn. I might not get that. I might get one of those guys. But the swing and miss percentage at this position, this high in the draft, is stunning to me. You spend all this time. The tonnage of words and information and all the stuff that goes into it, and then guys show up and they just can't do it.
Okay, but shouldn't that tell us more about the job of being quarterback and the human factors that are impossible to quantify? You can do whatever brain testing you want to do. You can give them the Wonderlic. You can have them run around. You can see all the throws. But really it comes down to, do you make the right decisions on the field? And I know Cowherd's always on this. If you make bad decisions off the field, you make good ones on the field. I don't even think that's relatable. I think you can be a total screw-up and then go out there and just see football a certain way and be really bright with it. So,
and maybe these guys will.
You're trying to predict human behavior more than you're trying to predict any ability to make any of these throws, and that's why there are misses.
It's SVP Russillo on ESPN Radio. Mike, if I had a specific concern on one guy that is also unfair and has nothing to do with them, it's Mariota and the Oregon quarterback, the track record. And the question of, it's a little bit like the guys that come out of the Big 12. I think it's part of the reason why a Petty, people look at him out of Baylor and they say, I saw what Riddick tweeted last day. He said what Petty did at Baylor has no practical application in the NFL. None. And so you look at guys that run the wide open, passing to guys that run down the seams, and there's no one around them, and that doesn't happen on Sundays. And people love Mariota; they love everything about the guy. But I would ask, what's the track record that's come out of systems like that, where it translates and it just immediately works? So my reasons for saying I'm not convinced and I wouldn't bet on these guys is simply, I have Google. Do you like them? Do you think they're going to succeed?
I just would never go because Achilles Smith and Joey Harrington didn't work out, not take Marcus Mariota. I'd fire every one of my scouts.
I understand that.
I'd go, that's what we're doing? We're watching tape all year, but because Achilles Smith and Joey Harrington in different systems didn't work out, just happens to be the same zip code, you don't want to take Marcus Mariota? Like, tell me if you think he can adapt. Like,
tell me why you think he's going to be good then.
I like Winston better. I would take Winston better because I think he's more.
That's a change. No, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Yeah.
I've said Winston since New Year's Eve.
I thought on the show that when we were having a conversation of which one we liked better, I thought it was that you were on the Mariota side.
No, I've said ever since I did the McShay film thing, right around New Year's Eve, right around the Rose Bowl, I came back.
I stand corrected
the whole time that I thought Winston was more ready-made.
Okay.
Mariota, I'm with you on the coin toss thing. It would freak me out, but I think the factors that you're bringing up, which I understand can scare you off, you have to look at each guy individually. You can't just go, well, man, a lot of these guys screw up. Let's not take one. Because the thing that we're going to talk about a little bit later is when teams trade up and they hand over all these picks, and you look at the Redskins with the RG3 thing a few years ago where they move up 4 spots, so they give up their 6 for 2, a first-rounder the next year, a first-rounder last year, so that's the number 2 overall pick, and a second-rounder. You go, man, that is so much, and now it looks like it's a complete waste. But then I think, I don't really blame you. Because you have to figure out how you can get one of these guys. So if you think Mariota can transition into one of those players, look, I watch him in an offense where I think he makes great decisions, where he's super athletic, which is just window dressing, which doesn't really matter. Can you make those throws? And I thought he threw to spots more than a guy like Winston who anticipated a lot more. So that's why I like Winston better. But I'd only be saying I don't like Mariota because I just don't know.
If you're Tampa and you're Tennessee, you're hoping it's 2008 Part 2. You're hoping that it's a Ryan Flacco class, and it can be. It certainly can be. It's just that there's far more litter by the side of the road at this position, this high, where I'm amazed. I'm amazed at how poorly teams can project. I'm amazed at how the difficulty of the position, that's an understood. But the fact that, look, skinny 2 guards in college. There's a zillion of those that couldn't make it in the NBA. I understand that. And guys that were able to light up college defenses that just can't figure out how to do it, where those windows are smaller and everything's moving not fractionally, but in some cases, exponentially faster. It's hard. It's hard to do.
So just so I understand, though, so you're saying no to both guys because of other misses and more so no to Mariota because of the system?
Of the two, and your point about Harrington and Achilles Smith and Dennis Dixon and whomever else.
I mean, Dennis Dixon was a marginal prospect at best.
I understand. He was what round? I mean, he got injured, but I mean, not the same. Achilles went what, third?
Yeah.
Okay. Your position makes far more sense. Mine's far more reactional and emotional, and I'm not typically that way. I keep thinking that teams, there's no position in sports that teams will reach more and convince themselves more that they have to take a shot than this one. None. And it's not other than the Mariota system.
And I get that. Look,
yeah.
I mean, that's
other than that,
you'd be crazy not to worry about that. So I'm fine with that. I just don't know how it translates to a system where Chip Kelly was like, yeah, I got here 10 years
and
after.
they might be great. They might be great. I just wouldn't bet money on it in either case.
SVP and Russillo.
The most predictable ending to our biggest trivial societal flaw, which was yesterday's one big thing. The Rockets fired the guy that runs their social media account. Hey, get in there and mix it up. Get people to look at this. Put your toes right up against the line. But then when people in a forum where you can't offend anybody actually get offended, then we're going to fire you. Good job.
You all right?
I'm stuff's got me going. Stuff's got me heated. This morning, stop me if where I'm wrong, and if you agree. Then
Mic off.
The Chip Kelly thing. I'm so sick of reading. All you football writer guys that know the game so well, talking about Chip Kelly, who you guys like to say, oh, he thinks he invented the game. He didn't think he invented the game. He thinks he coaches the game the way he likes to coach the game. What was his record at Oregon? A whole lot and not many, right?
That's right.
No, honestly, was it 42-7, something like that? Didn't win a title. Okay, they lost by 3 to Auburn in a title game. That's his big shortcoming at the college level. Comes to the NFL. Goes 10-6 and 10-6. Last year, their O-line had about 28 different starting combinations. Their quarterback situation over the past couple of years has been, what, Vic, Foles, Sanchez? Okay, that's not exactly murderer's row.
Sanchez.
My fault. But he goes 10-6, 10-6, and now he's making moves. And maybe he's a diabolical genius, and maybe it's about to blow up in his face. Maybe. But maybe he won almost all of his games at Oregon, came to the NFL, has gone 20-12 in his first 2 years, now is in a position where he gets to decide what's going on. And if he's going to fail, he will fail miserably, and he will fail gloriously. And then everyone that knows so much about the game can point and say, ha, you don't know what you're doing. But to date, all he's done is shown a pretty sharp football acumen, where guys like Pete Carroll went 6-10 both of his first 2 years in the NFL. Nick Saban went 9-7 and 6-10 his first 2 years in Miami, and he was gone. Bill Belichick went 6-10, 7-9 his first 2 years. These guys can all coach a little bit. Kelly's done nothing yet to earn scorn and ridicule, and yet that's all I seem to hear from people is like this guy's some kind of buffoon from the 700 level who's drank 26 bottles of Schlitz that's suddenly in charge of the team. What do you base that on?
I agree. I can't stand it. And we're probably going to get looked at, well, you guys like Chip and all that stuff.
I do like Chip.
Like, who cares? He's the reason you like him is because he was really good at Oregon.
I don't like crummy coaches.
Right. Did Joe Bugle on?
Hey, you watch your tone with him.
The other thing, too, that's so stupid, and when you tweet this and you say it, you're an idiot. Well, he'll just go back to the college ranks. He's got nothing to lose. What do you guys think he's doing? Do you think he just shows up as like, hey, I'd study for the draft, but I could just take the Texas gig probably in a couple of years if that whole thing Charlie Strong doesn't work out.
Or Bama.
They're like, hey, do you want to make a good trade? No, let's make some bad ones. I could just go to the SEC. People love me at the college level. Oh, so you're not competitive? You don't want to win games? You're just going to screw it up and just be mysterious and try to just figure out all these different things. And if it doesn't work, who cares? That was a massive failure of the NFL, which, by the way, as you point out his record, it's actually pretty good. I don't understand the Sam Bradford thing, okay? But you know what? I was on this show the next day making fun of Chip when he said, we had a team offer us a first round. You're like, yeah, sure you did. Well, by all accounts, that was accurate. He was letting everybody know because the Browns apparently wanted Bradford as well. If Bradford's healthy and it works out, will it mean Chip is right? I still think injury-wise it's a risk that I wouldn't take. I don't understand all the running backs, okay? But it doesn't then mean that everybody's so on point. Like I read some writer that's like, Chip Kelly's going to trade for the 1, 2, and 3. Like it's just not funny. It's not funny. It's the lowest hanging of all of the things with this guy where you're right, he's treated as if somebody who just comes in going, we want all laterals and we went 1 and 15 2 years in a row.
He's not some circus freak. This guy's won at every turn and won in a big way. All right, 10-6. Didn't make the playoffs last year. You're right. Are you familiar with their O-line and quarterback situation last year? And if he let Shady go, okay, and he traded him for DeMarco Murray. And again, the Bradford thing was a curiosity. Maybe it is all part of some diabolical scheme where tonight he goes and gets the guy that he wants in Mariota. Maybe that happens. And Sal Pal, I guess, was on with Colin and said the city's geeked up. Maybe nothing happens. Maybe this is actually the hand he's going to try to play.
It's going to be wild, though, in Philly. Chip, what's he going to do?
Maybe
he doesn't care. He'll take any gig. He'll get fired tomorrow. It'll be like, Philly was fun for a couple of years.
I would get the scorn. I would get the jokes from all of the peanut gallery if there had been colossal failures or even any failures. But there haven't been.
They brought Tebow in to be a backup, okay? But then it gets spun into, what is he doing? They're like, he's going to be watching right next to Chip. And then it turns into, and I don't care what anybody says, when Stephen A. did the thing with you're basically saying, is this motivated by race? That is such garbage, a month removed from it.
Yeah, and then you replace Shady McCoy with Murray and Matthews, who were Chip's kind of guys. I would get it. I would get it if there was a punchline. And maybe it's about to be provided to all of you. But all of this stuff about, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Well, he was from freaking New Hampshire, and he created some kind of a thing that worked, got him to Oregon, and now he's coaching in the National Football League. So you know who he's smarter than? You. I'm out.
I want to say peace at the end of that?
I'm out of the ammunition on this one.
I think we got it.
Hey, Billy Donovan, he's taking the gig with OKC. Jeff Goodman saying that's going to happen. Hey, he fails. You know what he can do? Right back to college.
Let's trade Durant. I got plenty of gigs lined up.
I'll go back to the college ranks.
As if any other NFL coach can't get a college gig. That's pretty good. Well, Harbaugh, he's just messing with the whole chemistry of the thing. He knows he can go somewhere else.
You doing Brett Favre up on the butte, up on the ridge?
I'm just doing dumb person on Twitter that covers football. Sorry. Some of you guys I like too, but it's just not funny anymore.
SVP and Russillo.
No, for real.
Just getting the blow-by-blow of a nice little outdoor run that my man had yesterday, where things started getting loosey-goosey.
Yeah, I felt a little looser, so
nice.
We'll see.
Love that.
Probably get hurt. I thought I broke my finger. Shoulder hurts.
Hey, the last time that happened, you just let it be shattered and go have a look at a doctor, X-ray it, and say, it's kind of like an eggshell that got dropped on the floor. Gonna fix it? Nah, we'll just let it heal.
Well, he told me. I said, what are my chances that this gets worked out? He's like, 50-50. I don't know. Go under for the day, get cut open, 3 different surgeries on the finger.
Or just live the rest of your life with a big old mutant balled up end of your ring finger. No big deal.
Yeah, if things really fall apart for me in late 40s, I head out to Wyoming and just say I used to play ball somewhere.
Of course you do.
Get put on a lot of weight.
Feel good. I feel like I've unburdened myself of some of the baggage, some of the anger.
Nice. You've been on fire today.
Just
tired of it.
That's it.
Tell them.
At it, man.
That's
These
it.
people.
It's just keep banging the dumb drum. Hey, I'm over here. What are you doing? I'm just banging the dumb drum. Chip Kelly, here's a joke. Okay, cool. Here, how about 20 and 12? Put your drumstick down.
So
I can't. What's wrong, Steve?
Because I feel exactly the way you guys feel, and I know we all get posed as these Chip lover guys.
But what's not to love?
But it makes, like he said he's tired of it. It makes me want to fight. Like, it really makes me want to fight people. It really does. And, you know, the whole Twitter thing, you can't really do that. We're at work now, but, God, I would love one time with a couple of these people.
Just to let them have it?
Beat them up because of their bad tweets on Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Well, not beat up, just, you know, a quick jab to the face.
A physical intimidation. A Kendrick Perkins, perhaps. Just the finger across the face.
And we saw that in that game that involved Love and Rondo. Not Rondo. We'll get to Rondo in a minute.
I mean, somebody reported this morning that Chip wants to mix it up, 50-50 chance it happens. Like,
good. I
you know
hope
what I mean?
does.
Like, I smashed my head into my microphone.
That's what that was.
For those that may have not heard it in their car.
Left turn to Love.
Okay.
Out 4 to 6 months. We said on Monday we had an accord here that we felt that what Olynyk did was dirty, but not an intentional. And I'll stand by that. The fact that what he did resulted in a man's shoulder being so jacked up that he can't play till the start of next season, I'll admit, it changes the way I feel about what ought to be done to Olynyk. It feels to me the equivalent of a brushback pitch that gets away from you and injures a guy. I don't think a brushback, there's a purpose. You're doing something. It's not an accident. But your intent is certainly not to maim a guy. And for all intents and purposes, what Olynyk did, you maimed a guy. He's out for the playoffs. It impacts the course of this postseason, and it impacts the offseason for Love. And, you know, a game for Olynyk now feels really hollow.
I don't care about the suspension stuff. I just don't. I don't know that you can go after the fact, hey, this guy now, he can't play, and it's even longer, so now let's go back and punish Olynyk. I think you go by somebody's track record, the incident. And, yeah, I think it was a play where you're grabbing somebody, and it ended up being a lot worse. Guys do grab each other.
Love was grabbing him right before it happened.
I'm not saying that it was a completely innocent act either. You know, I first looked at it like, oh, you're just two guys going for it, and you see that left hand, and you see him pulling it. But I just disagree with the whole idea that after the fact that now we have to give him more of a suspension because Love decides, well, I could be a free agent or I'll be a free agent 2 years from now, so let me get surgery now instead of trying to come back for the playoffs.
All right, then
I have a hard time with that.
Fine. Then we can agree to disagree.
But that's the topic now, though. Love, what happens now?
It is. That's more interesting to me. Is A, how does the short-term impact of what happens with Cleveland, because he was really starting to help him. And granted, it was Boston, and it would have been tougher sledding, you presume, against Chicago and then beyond.
Yeah, of course.
But what happens? I mean, what happens to them, and then what happens with him?
I'm telling you from the beginning on this one, and when I started doing kind of the mid-season thing where you go, okay, so wait a minute, he's getting benched. He used to be kind of thought of as a top 5, top 10 guy. He can get a max anywhere else, and anybody that thinks he lost money based on his play this year before he was hurt, you just don't understand how it works. He was going to get max money if he opted out. I go, why is he going to stick around for this thing? And I was told time and time again that the understanding was if you're moving Wiggins, you're moving Anthony Bennett, and you're making these moves, this is not a one-year rental. So now, I was of the belief, the minority opinion, that he wasn't leaving anyway. Now I can't imagine that he's going to after surgery.
What you were told, and your information was good, it was dialed in here, but what you were told was before this really turbulent ride that has been this year.
But it was consistent. You know, I went on with Simmons, and we're going, what do you do if you're Love? And then you start making phone calls, and everybody else around the league's like, he's out of there. And then you go, well, why is he out of there? Because you want him?
Right.
You know, like that's the scary thing about getting information from people.
Man, your girl, I don't know about her. I wouldn't.
Yeah, right?
Hey,
this is going to work out.
Let me holler at you. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. You can test drive Snapshot even if you have insurance with another company. See how much you can save before you switch. OKC getting its guy and Billy Donovan. This has been expected for several days, and according to Roy Shung, a very talented fellow from True Hoop, covering the Thunder, knows the ins and outs there.
One of our ESPN.com.
Yeah, but you should check him out. This has always been the guy.
It's the type of thing where it's you're taking a gamble because people are going to label it as a college to NBA jump. There's a lot of unknowns, but quite frankly, there's a lot of unknowns no matter who you hire. It's about the guy coming in being able to basically connect with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and Billy Donovan's got a strong track record of being able to build strong relationships with players. So. I think the Thunder have kind of viewed this as Billy Donovan has always been their top their top option. I think that when Presti fired Scott Brooks, that he had Billy Donovan in mind. And basically, I think it's a yes or no thing.
I think it's fascinating just because this is a very accomplished guy that ran a very good program. Obviously, they won back-to-back titles. This year was an outlier. It's
considered maybe one of the most unlucky seasons injury-wise we've ever seen.
Well, and if you follow a lot of the metrics, they'd say that they had some of the worst on-court luck. There were a lot of things that went wrong. And it could have just been maybe his guys knew that he was going to transition away from this, and maybe his guys weren't. Maybe nobody all had both feet in the bus. Everybody was looking to hop out at the next exit. But it's fascinating that a guy like Donovan's training wheels gig in the league is this, because this is a rocket ship, man. This isn't a little kid's bike with training wheels.
You're right, but this is the kind of job you want.
Oh, without question.
Yeah, okay, Durant could leave, and they haven't been healthy, and Westbrook could leave. Okay, well, sign me up, and we'll figure it out. But I want to go back to something we did yesterday, because I had said, well, I'm not as worried about the player-coach relationship thing, and it kind of went against something I said earlier, and you came after me, and I thought, well, what do you... And you're right, I was inconsistent about that, because I've assumed so much with this Donovan thing, because people around the league have just thought, well, this is what he did. He knew he had Donovan, as Royce mentions, before he fired Brooks. So you can't possibly imagine that Durant is not in tune with this somehow. Like, Durant can love Scott Brooks and everything he's done and say all the right things, but anybody that watches him knows they needed a change, and it's great the front office kind of did it finally. But I think my general point, I did contradict myself a little bit, that I always feel like if it's somebody like Durant or Westbrook, you have to okay it with them, but I made it sound like yesterday, it doesn't really matter. I just assumed that at some point, don't you think Presti and that group would have had to have reached out and said, hey, what do you think about Donovan? Now, if they didn't, you're absolutely right. That would be a mistake. That would just be being arrogant for no reason other than just to be arrogant.
Thank you, because I thought I was losing my mind on this.
I had to think about it a little bit more, because I assumed too much specific to OKC. Because I'm going, well, they had, like, everything. He's got assistants. Like, this whole thing has been kind of in the works for a while.
I like it. I want to make it clear. I like it.
Is anybody down on it?
No, it makes sense. I like it. It's just, it's an incredible, it's like the kid at school that gets the BMW sedan on his 16th birthday. And you're like, wow, that's your first car, huh? I rode a bike. Then I graduated to a moped.
What was your first car?
Dude, Chevy Monza. We talked about that.
How many miles? New audience every
True. No, I had a Chevy Monza.
Us?
How many miles on it? How many miles when I got it, or how many miles when I tried to roll it back with a hanger when we tried to turn it in?
You are just the sketchiest dude. Are you sure you're not from Ansonia?
And then, this is the best part. After I got the hanger in there to try to roll back the odometer, I'm driving down the road, and the miles are rotating like it's like you're on a bike at the gym. It was just spinning over. I'm like, oh, this is bad. I'm gonna have to say, I don't know what happened. I broke it. Oh, you mean with the paint scratched off? You used a hanger? Yeah, it was an 80 something Chevy Monza. I was super light in the back. We had to take the weights from my bench because I lifted a lot in high school and put them in the back of the car to try to get some traction. Because if there was even a little bit of snow, the back wheels would just spin.
What was the difference? You think you were going to trade that in with 12,000 miles on it, and they were going to go, man, you really worn this one into the ground.
Think about when you were dumber than you are now, and you were younger, and you thought, I know what I'll do. That's all. I wasn't thinking.
Did you tell anyone you were going to try to roll back the miles?
No. Why would you? Hey, everyone, I'm going to show a blatant disregard for what I believe is a federal law or some statute and roll back these here miles.
So wait a minute. So you cracked the case, or you just that little plastic thing?
A buddy of mine showed me how if you took one screw off, you could get a hanger in there, and then if you could get it bent the right way, you could just go and roll it back. And when it worked, man, I was like, boom! Look at me! This Monza's only got like 62,000. And then when I started driving and it started spinning and then they all got stuck,
what happened when you traded it in?
I think I just abandoned it somewhere. I mean, it was so jacked up by the time that this thing got traded in that the guy was just like, we'll take it.
It could have said 1 million miles and it just didn't matter.
It didn't make any difference. We'll do you a solid and you can leave it here. That's the way I remember it going.
I remember the first trade-in I had, my monster truck, and the guy's like, yeah, I think we can give you about $800 for it.
What?
Oh, what? The tires and rims are 12. And I was just disgusted because it's your first trade-in.
You took it, though, because that's how it goes.
And the guy goes, well, we'll get you to 12 if it makes you feel better. And then, of course, the price on the other car went up. So, I mean, the whole thing is just balance.
SVP and Russillo.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
SVP and Russillo.
Mayo's the best condiment. I was going to give you a terrible pun about on his birthday, his presence is our some terrible
yeah, that's
thing.
Okay.
We're happy to have you here.
Good to be here.
Guests join us, Subway Fresh Day Hotline, presented Progressive. I say all that, we're good. We handled our business. The business at hand tonight is the draft. The thing about coaches that I find fascinating is I think you guys are far more likely after you're done to remember losses rather than wins. It's just human nature.
Yes.
When it comes to the draft and you think back, do you remember more vividly moments where you got the guy, or do you remember more vividly the things where, oh my goodness, right before our pick somebody went? What memory are you most likely to think about?
Well, I've been in enough of them. One was give you this quick story if I could. When
Please.
I first started working with Kansas City as a scout, I was at San Jose State coaching. They had a guy by the name of Johnny Johnson. Tremendous football player, and we were going to draft him, and so Carl Peterson says, get on the phone and call him. At that point in time, it was about the fourth round, and we were going to call him. He wasn't at home. He thought the draft was off, and he went to the movies. So I'm trying to get a hold of this guy. I can't get a hold of him. So Carl Peterson says, look, if we can't get a hold of him, we can't draft him. So Carl, we need to draft this guy. Trust me. I was on the staff with this guy. This guy's a good football player, and so we don't draft him because we can't get a hold of him, right? And he goes, I guess he gets drafted by Arizona first. Makes the Pro Bowl his first year. He's a good player, you know. And it was like, really, Carl, just draft the guy, would you please? But we couldn't draft him because, you know, the saying is if you can't get a hold of him and talk to him on the phone, you don't never know. It could have been an accident. You don't know. You're drafting a guy, you don't know where he's at.
Well, I believe wasn't there a dead guy that was drafted?
That might be a true story.
No,
too.
I mean, way back when. I thought I heard a story
you know,
about that. One of my friends got drafted, and he got called, and that was like the big deal. And they said to him, make sure you're sitting by your phone.
Right.
Because if you don't answer, we're not taking you. And then they told him some story about how decades ago.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, in today's draft, it's an event. There's 7 rounds. You know, the first one tonight, we see all, and then tomorrow you go 2 and 3. I was kind of reflecting when I was involved in the draft. I was a player, you know, 1977, and well, there was 12 rounds. There was 354 players drafted, guys. Okay, and the first round was actually on television. And after that, you had to go to radio. It was all on radio. I mean, you have to listen. You're sitting in your house, you know. You're kind of they ain't getting called, and you listen to radio. Oh no, you know. I mean, this
is where we sound like the old guys. I can remember opening up the Washington Post to see who people picked. Man, it was a different
you know what's
deal.
Funny? Listen to here's really what's funny. What's wrong? You okay?
Yeah.
Right, let it go. It's now the quarterback era. My era. First 2 players drafted, Ricky Bell, number 1, Tony Dorsett, number 2.
Wow.
There was not a quarterback drafted in the first 12 picks.
Now there hasn't been a running back picked in the first round in several years. That'll change tonight. Herm Edwards is in studio. I just have one more quick one. What are you more likely to trust? There's so many question marks off field, this and that and the other thing. When you talk to a guy, do you feel like you get a better sense? Interpersonal, like, because you're big with that, or do you trust the tape? What do you trust?
Well, first of all, I don't look at the tape, see what type of player he is. You always figure that out. And I know this: the last 2 months these players haven't played, so the tape hasn't changed. Now, any other thing that's off the field that it becomes a concern, I'm gonna dig deep into that. And if we've got a guy off the field that has concerns, I've had a conversation with him, whether we brought him in the building, whether I went and visited him again. You wanted to make sure everything was okay. And then from there, you got to make the decision. Do I want this guy in our organization or do I not want this guy in our organization?
Herm Edwards in studio. You think Tampa Bay then goes with
no doubt.
Jameis?
Yeah, it's not even close.
Why do you feel so confident about that?
Well, I just think that, first of all, it has a lot to do with the head coach. And I coach Jameis, actually. There's 4 kids who's going to get drafted this year that played in that Under Armour game. Jameis Winston was one.
We interviewed him that day on this show before he'd even made his decision.
Amari Cooper, Mario Edwards, and Fowler. Those kids, my first year of coaching, those kids are now getting drafted. There's been 40 kids, I think, in the last 8 years that have gotten drafted. Julio Jones, all these guys in that play. So that's kind of ironic, But so the conversation I had with Lovey, they've done their due diligence. They've done their work. This guy plays in big moments. He's not afraid of the spotlight. Obviously, there's some concerns off the field, but they've checked everything. They feel okay with him. This is really the best place Jameis Winston could go as far as being under Lovie Smith because of what Lovie's going to provide this guy off the field and when he comes in the building.
Is it structure? What is it?
Yeah, structure. It's hard love. It's demanding. It's making this guy understand what it's going to take to be a professional football player. I talked to James about a week ago. It was funny. I was in the studio, and the quarterback guru was here, the quarterback guru. He's all right.
George Whitfield. You sound a little dismissive as you say.
No, but he's my guy. So
okay.
George,
he's your guy. Sounds like
No. So he's a quarterback guru. He's a quarterback whisperer, And so I'm sitting there, and he goes, hey, I'm gonna call Jameis. So he gets Jameis on the phone, right?
Okay.
And he puts they got these phone now. You get FaceTime, I guess. They call it FaceTime, I guess.
Yes. You're in.
That's what they call it.
Yeah. So he gives him FaceTime, and he calls him, and he answers his phone, and he's kind of talking to him like this, and he says, Jameis. He says, look who this is. And I get on the phone, and he looks at me, Coach. And he said, Coach, I got one thing to say. And I said, what's that? He says, I heard you on SportsCenter. You said I was like 26-1. He said, Coach, I won that Under Armour game too, 27-1. I said, you're right. You're right.
Okay, but look, the thing I've always liked about you, Herm, is that you get along with everybody. Okay,
try to.
And you start your day, and like you've said to me a few times, good mood, bad mood, decision's up to you.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that people open up to you because of that.
Yes.
And you've been around people your whole life, every demographic, all the age
no
groups.
doubt.
So do you think you do a better job of getting a read on who's full of it and who's a real guy and who you could bet on based on their personality? Because I bet that about you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how do you feel about him that way?
He's going to be okay, guys. He's going to be okay.
You saying that makes me feel better.
He's going to be okay. And I know there's concerns, and I get it. But at the end, he's going to be all right, guys. And I'm hoping that he plays well, and I'm hoping Mariota plays well. We need them both to play well in this league. We need what happened to us last year. 4 quarterbacks go in the first round. 3 of them withstood it. Right?
Right.
That's good. That generally doesn't happen. Bortles, he got beat up, 72 sacks. I get it. Gonna be a good player. That kid over there that plays with the one patch over there, the Raiders, right?
Yep.
They played with 2 patches a lot. Sometimes they play with 2, but they got a guy. Carr, pretty good. Okay, Teddy Bridgewater, they were knocking his hands and all that other stuff. He had the glove. Is he with the glove? Is he out the glove? Okay, I get all that. He played pretty good and didn't have the best runner in the National Football League playing with him. Okay, and Johnny Manziel had his issues. Off the field, came to fruition. Caught up to him. So that's good for our league, guys. You know that. We all sit here
It's good to 3 guys.
Yes.
Right.
And they're quarterbacks.
Right.
Because when the quarterback don't play good, guys, that's the first thing you guys go on the air and talk about. First thing I got to talk about every week.
And we started our show tonight, and we started with me saying that I couldn't bet on these guys, and the reason why is because the list of the Youngs and Gabberts and Jamarcus and Locker and Ponder, there's so many more that don't than that do. Is it them or is it the position? Because Ryan points out, and he's right, the demands of it, there's nothing quite like it in sports.
It's the position, and it's this. It's the mental composition of a guy. Is he tough? Because you get mentally beat up. Every week you get mentally beat up. And when your team can't help you, it's all on you. See, Blake Bortles survived it. He'll be better for it. Okay? Mm-hmm. Carr survived it. He'll be better for it. And so if they can't handle that, and the guys that don't, just think about it mentally. They crash. They crash and burn. They can't handle it. And they got to play now. You can't wait. Because when you're the coach, you say, well, unless you got Brett Favre and you draft Aaron Rodgers and you say, okay, we can let this Brett Favre play for a couple years, and we got this other gunslinger. Aaron Rodgers, put him in there. He's pretty good. He sat the bench. And everybody was hollering at Green Bay, said, why are you drafting this guy? We got Brett Favre. Well, it worked out pretty good for him, didn't it? See, so I just think, you're a guy in Washington, right? He comes the first year, he lights everybody up. Now he's going to find out if he can play quarterback. He's going to find out. Because right now everybody, and I'm pulling for the guy. I really am. I'm pulling for the guy because he suffered it. He got embarrassed. He figured this thing out. Now, can you go play now, son? Because now your clock's ticking. And then that's that position. You get exposed, man. Tough.
I was in a bad mood, but now I'm not.
You guys okay? I've been listening to you guys all week, man.
Because you have come in and you have your birthday has brightened my day, and I thank you for that.
You got to bet on the players.
When are you going to take some school's money and recruit kids?
Oh boy, I'd be on. My wife told me if you ever went to college football, you'd be on probation this first week. I said you're probably right, honey. I'd break a lot of rules.
Yeah, but your class would be
dump that.
Yeah. It wouldn't even be close.
Hey, if it doesn't work out for us, I want to be on a staff, a windbreaker. I can stand there with a visor and just look mean the whole time.
Let me tell you something. If I go in the neighborhood, they coming with me. I'm getting them all.
I know that's
I'm getting me the boys now. I'm getting me some now.
And you'll find a neighborhood that doesn't have the mailboxes.
Oh,
I know that's
five
right.
of them. I want 5 of them out of the mailboxes.
I know you do.
I did it at San Jose State. We were pretty good.
You're the best. Herm Edwards, happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
SVP and Russillo.
Earlier today, things got a little sideways about Chip Kelly. I'll just paraphrase it by saying we've had it. The guy's won 10-6 both years in the NFL, and all he's done is be successful. And if you want to make jokes, make them out of my sight because I'm done with it. Do you think that either Cleveland or Philly make some crazy move to, and by crazy I mean multiple picks, maybe players, to try to move up to 2 to get Mariota?
It feels like the Browns want to. It feels like all of the Philadelphia stuff is just based on the fascination that Chip has to be up to something every single day. Like he has to be doing something.
Because he's crazy.
We had Daniel Jeremiah on yesterday, and he said he knows guys in the building, and they're laughing at the theory with the Browns is we're just going to take a quarterback every single year until we hit on one of these guys. And honestly, I don't know that I blame him. Because the more I think about it, and I think about all the challenges that different teams have in different leagues, and I'm talking across sports in everything, just not the ones we don't pay attention to. But I might be more sympathetic to NFL teams just going all in and trying to trade for a quarterback because there's nothing you can do if you don't have him. Houston has a nice roster. I love what the talent is, the situation with the Buffalo Bills. And if you're in that room getting ready for the offseason and you're going, hey, did you call Hoyer? Okay, I called Castle. Did you reach out to Fitzpatrick? You did? Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll just roll the dice with one of them. And you know 8-8 is probably the best that you can possibly do. So when the Redskins a few years ago move up from 6 to 4, throw in a second rounder that year, a first rounder the next year, and a first rounder last year that ends up being the number 2 overall, we can all point and laugh. I know no one likes Snyder, but I kind of get why you do it. Because you go, we have to stop the run of not having a guy behind center.
One of the other things Jeremiah pointed out yesterday on that point about Houston was just imagine if they could land someone like a Rivers and you
forget it,
plug that guy into what they have.
Can you imagine the energy? And players got to take care of their teammates and all that stuff. But can you imagine the energy being around a facility when you go, we got a guy after a couple years of not having one,
and you that group of people, it's like that guy whose name pops up that you didn't even know pitched for your team as like a 5th starter. And you say, wait a minute, Bruce Chen starting for us?
I was a beat away from saying Bruce Chen.
Well, that's because he's played for every team, some of them multiple times, and he might go out and deal a nice spin a dandy, little 6-hitter, or he might give up 5 and 3 1/3.
Pat Rapp's available?
and that's what we're talking about in that Castle, Fitzpatrick. Who else is in that group?
That group? Kitna was always that guy.
Oh, gee.
And then you go, well, if we can get Kitna to maybe play the first 8 weeks. Like, as soon as you start doing that, everyone doesn't want to say it out loud. I'd imagine in that front office. Oh, we're screwed. We're screwed.
What about Cobb? By those windows.
His head didn't get dented a million times. I ran into his roommate or something when I was down at Fort
Worth. His brother.
I was somebody that knew Kevin Cobb because he called them while I was out. He was like, Russillo's here. He's in the stockyards. Me, McShay, and a friend out in Fort Worth. So,
how'd that go? Fun conversation?
I'd have just said, look, I'm his biggest fan. And he started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm considered Kevin Cobb's biggest fan. So,
The point, though, the point here is you don't blame people for scrambling. You don't blame if Cleveland does it. I mean, and hey, we've all seen that the jersey where we just put another name on the back in Cleveland. But at some point, you just keep swinging. One of these times you're gonna connect. You're gonna find your guy.
I don't love the idea of trading first-round picks, okay? Because those guys are supposed to be, hey, let's make a couple Pro Bowls, okay? It doesn't have to be first-team All-Pro all the time, but you should be getting a real nice return on your first-rounders, and that's not always going to happen. But when you start trading away all the time, you're getting yourself into serious trouble, okay? So you start there. And I always like these hypotheticals, but what would it take for Andrew Luck? Now, they'd never trade him. But if somebody told me, if I was Houston, or if I owned, it's not even running the team. If I owned one of these teams that's had this brutal stretch of not having a guy, in Houston, it hasn't been nearly as bad as, say, Cleveland or now Buffalo. But I'd probably give you 7 first-rounders and go, I don't care.
Have fun drafting in the late 20s every year for the next 5 years.
Now I know our problem solved. And I'm not even saying that obviously I'm not saying Andrew Luck's available, but I just love the hypothetical of what would be the number of first-round draft picks where the Colts have to go, well, maybe we actually have to listen to this. And I don't even know if you can get to that number. And then you'd have to be really good at your second-rounders. But, none of this makes any sense because it would never happen. But the point I keep getting back to is, and it kind of has a lot to do with the Chip Kelly thing, is if you want to make jokes, I know it's just how it works. Like, who can come up with the funniest meme? Who can come up with the funniest tweet? And I'm guilty of it sometimes too. But if you're going to make fun of a team tonight for trading up a bunch of picks for a quarterback to Tennessee at number 2, if that's what happens, understand that they're probably coming from not just a place of need, but probably a place of frustration.
I think that there are more convenient targets to use as your punchline than a guy that was wildly successful at one level and has been far more successful in his first 2 years than a bunch of other accomplished coaches who I listed earlier. And again, if a guy like Kelly is armed with confidence and he's a bit of a nonconformist, well, it's because he came from nowhere, made it to Oregon, and now coaches one of the 32 teams in the league. He's got one of those jobs. So if he's armed with a little belief in himself, he's accomplished far more than you and your jokes. I'm really interested to know if there's anything to it, because there's been so much speculated. And the other thing, Ryan, becomes, it's every joke about closing time, and you narrow your focus, and suddenly your pitch becomes a little bit more vague. It was, hey, we wanted three first rounders early on. Well, maybe you'll take 2, and maybe you take 1 and a couple of really good players. Who knows? It'll make tonight very interesting.
SVP and Russillo. ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
throw to the plate, safe at the plate,
right through the World Series.
For the 3rd time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio.
I'm getting ready to say something just remarkably stupid.
SVP and Russillo.
From Los Angeles, by our buddy from PTI, it's Michael Wilbon. And Michael, the fun thing about the buffet that is sports is that we can all load up on the thing that we like most, and there are many options to choose from tonight. What is the most interesting storyline / game that you're going to be keeping your eyes on?
Well, it will be the NBA and not the draft for me, Scott. I just, and I know that, the draft will be much more popular for most of the country. I'm sure the draft ratings will dwarf the NBA playoff ratings, literally. I could care less about the draft and may not even check into it because I can read on the bottom line who's going to a team.
Right.
But I want to see these certainly the most compelling playoff series so far, and maybe the only one you call compelling, is Spurs-Clippers. And I was, I covered games 3 and 4 in that series. I'm really into that series. The rest of it, I'm hoping there's a game 7 in Los Angeles. So that's first and foremost for me, and obviously as a, Chicagoan. Bulls, Milwaukee, which would be very, very, probably low on the ratings meter for a lot of people, on the must-watch meter, will be high on it for me. So Clippers, Spurs first, Bulls second, Bulls, Milwaukee second, and I'll check in to see who the Bears draft. But other than that, the draft will just be something that's lost to me, won't exist.
Understood. And you've made the point on the show a number of times that you and Doc go back a long ways. In the grand scheme of things, what does tonight's game represent for him, do you think?
My goodness, everything. The Clippers, I said the other day, I'm making the analogy that the Clippers against San Antonio remind me of those Knicks teams in the late 80s and early throughout the 90s, and Doc Rivers was on a couple of those teams, against the Bulls. They just can't break through. There's one thing that keeps them from breaking through against San Antonio the way the Knicks couldn't break through against the Bulls. Reminds me of that very much. You look at that play at the end of the game with DeAndre Jordan touching the ball in the cylinder, clearly the right call. For those of us at the game and who watched it a million times, it seems like that ball had a 99% chance of going in. And with 4.9 seconds left, the Clippers at home are going to be in the position up 1 of going up in the series 3-2, and that puts all the pressure on San Antonio. And you got Game 7 assured if you need it, and all these wonderful things for the Clippers. And they just couldn't, the touch of the ball, something that minuscule changed the entire outcome probably of Game 5. So this means everything. I said to Chris Paul, I said, before on the eve of this, I said, you could play great, you could be great in the first round and not advance because of the nature of this series in the Western Conference playoffs. And he said, I hear you intellectually. We can't have that. We have to win this series. And he was talking about all that the Clippers have been and the shortcomings and the promise and being close and the potential and all of it. Chris Paul was basically trying to bring all of that into context. And so they know it. They know it. They know what's at stake tonight. Doc Rivers, all of them. And they're going to have to win that game. Otherwise, people are just going to say, Clippers, what do you expect?
Michael Wilbon, Weekly Visit. The Pop success is remarkable. Might be the best coach in sports. But I want to ask you, because you get to a level where I think you're going to be treated with more respect because you, in a way, you're not an athlete, but you're a star in our medium. And with the success of PTI, you're going to get treated a different way. And this is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, but do you think Pop is just a guy who's an athlete/coach who just has the media laugh and he makes himself think that he's really funny? Because I don't really think it's funny anymore.
Well, that's a totally fair question, Ryan. Believe me, though, my relationship with Pop goes back a ways before I ever appeared on ESPN because I was covering basketball so long for the Washington Post, and it's a complex thing with Pop. The thing he does on camera with sideline reporters and the thing he does in that public sort of way, it's tiresome. It is. There's no way around that. At least to me it is. So I'm sort of with you on that. However, there's so much time that when you cover a sport, and you know this, there's so much time you spend with coaches. There's so much time you spend asking for access and hoping that the smartest and best guys and most accessible guys will grant you that access and then information once you're there. There is nobody few people I have hired on that list in doing that, in helping people in the media do their jobs than Pop. Now, you're not going to see that. There's no, I've been in Pop's office at 15 minutes before the game. Yes, 15. Where I go, Pop, you got to go. He goes, no, shut up. Listen to this. Look at this. And sometimes it might be talking about the unrest in Baltimore. It might be talking about social issues of the day. It could be talking about basketball. It could be talking about a family matter. And Pop is so generous with that time. And if you ask the beat writers who are not media celebrities on any level, so many of them will tell you what I'm telling you now. So it's hard to, how do I ignore that Pop will give an out-of-town guy, me, an hour on a visit to talk about any and everything. And there's no curt answer. There's no TV thing. There's no shtick. There's none of that. Am I supposed to ignore that and only ignore that he did this thing for 40 seconds on the sideline? How would you reconcile those two things?
I'm really glad you said that because now I feel better at it, and I almost feel like it's a dumb kind of pointless question because I'd never.
No. It
but
is
I would
not
never.
something pointless at all. My brother says to me, "Why do you like Pop so much?" And I have to explain to him that there are things that people see on camera that are one. In my case, now in the case of David Aldridge, or in the case of people who Craig Sager, all of our sideline reporters at the network at ESPN, Jay Adonde, who loves Pop, and now as a sideline guy has to view this differently. But then there are other people. There's so many more media people who would not ever do on the sideline, never have a microphone, who interact with Pop on this sort of intimate coach-reporter relationship level for years. I would fly in from Washington years ago, and Pop might spend 30 minutes with me in an office. And I've tried to explain this to my brother when he says, "Why do you like Pop so much?" Because what you see on TV and what actually transpires in so many situations and instances, they have no relationship. So I'm not a sideline reporter. I feel for them. I don't ever want to be put in that position with Pop on the sideline. But you know what? Next week, if they're in the next series, Pop might sit with me for a half an hour and go over stuff and give me an understanding of what is going on in the league or with his team. There are other coaches who do it. Obviously, Doc Rivers, I have a friendship with. There's so many good coaches in the NBA about this. But Pop's also one of them.
Good stuff. Michael Wilbon here. Final thought from me with the fight Saturday. Are you rooting for either fighter?
Yep, I'm rooting for Pacquiao. That's born of a lot of things. Rooting interests are personal, how we were brought up, what we believe in, what our personal likes are, what our guilty pleasures are. I'm rooting for Pacquiao. I've had a distaste for Floyd Mayweather. And I don't mean the lifestyle. I don't care about that. He's not the first boxer to do that. But things that he has not fully explained, and we can't get fully into that now, but we know what they are. I haven't had a full explanation of it. His behavior offends me and offends a lot of other people. It offends me, and I'm doing the rooting here. So I'm rooting for Pacquiao, fully believing Mayweather will win. I just think that Mayweather is probably a slightly better fighter, even if that would have happened 5 or 6 years ago when they were both at the top of their games and younger in their physical primes. But I'm rooting for Pacquiao, and I have no problem saying that I am.
As always, you're gracious with your time, Michael. Enjoy the West Coast. Be well, and we'll talk again.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me.
Earlier today on SVP and Russillo.
Clean up on aisle 3 as we tied up the bow on the Houston Rockets social media person story that got fired after tweeting out that horrendously offensive thing about the end of the Mavericks series. By the way,
know, though, dude. How many cartoon horses do you know?
I don't know. Somebody was upset. He'll be on with Levitard 5:30 Eastern, and I didn't want it to go the entire segment because neither of us thought it needed to be some 8-minute assessment of the story. It was simply a matter of reviewing it and adding the next layer about the fact that the guy got fired. And in reading the tweet, I said the following. He tweeted out something that included a picture of a horse head and a gun, and it said, "Be over soon," and it's funny. Okay, so you have me talking super fast, and the tweet was, "Shh, it'll be over soon." But see, I was talking fast, and if you put the shh and then the it together, then what do you have? Well, you have something that sounds like it's got to be dumped. So the guys behind the glass dumped it, and, I think it played out on somewhere because somebody sent me another. It's like, yeah, Russillo's face when you cussed was great. So it made it someplace.
Because I did go, we had 2 dumps in a row. Outside, you're on your game. That hungry man keeps you focused.
I was talking so fast that I didn't even know that it happened.
I knew you were having a bad day, so I just didn't want, I didn't want the day to be any worse, so I just dumped it.
Once I let go of some of the rage on the Chip Kelly story, I was somewhat better. Also, we found out why Herm Edwards cannot be a college coach.
My wife told me if you ever went to college football, you were on probation the first week. I said, you're probably right, honey. I'd break a lot of rules.
He said he would get everybody. He would be great. All that charisma.
Recruiting, he'd be great. I don't know what rules he'd be breaking other than positive vibes. Too many in one day.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would play loosey-goosey with the rules, but he's working with us. So, he doesn't need to go recruit. He's already surrounded by 5 stars like Stamper Steve. We started the show talking about the draft. I said I can't bet on either of these quarterbacks, and you challenged me why, and I understood why it made sense. I just still would say I can't bet on him. What do you think tonight about Mariota? What do you think? I mean, about Jameis? What do you think? How's the night go for him? What do you your vibe?
It's gotten to the point in the last couple of years, especially the last year, and whenever anybody's connected to anything where you're not treating females the way they need to be treated, it feels like you're almost this guilt of having an open mind. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I have an open mind about Jameis Winston because I don't know what happened with that girl. I think the other stuff might just be stupid. And when I watched him with Gruden, I was incredibly impressed with his football smarts. I thought he looked as good as anybody I've ever seen on that show where he was just going, no, this is what we do here, and yeah, I do it here, and in this game will I hit this, and yeah, here's the guy here. And I'm like, man. And I would, if I was a team, I would feel fine about all of the stuff and go ahead and do it. And I think he's going to be good. Did the show make you happier today? Did it put you in a better mood? Was the show therapy to get you out of whatever funk you were pre-show?
Yeah.
We're worried, man.
I don't come in here that far on the wrong side of the tracks that often. I wasn't in a good mood, and
you come in and within your first 10 words is I'm not in a good mood. So now everybody knows, and hey, we go accordingly. We got your back.
Yeah, nobody was mad about it.
I'm not worried if you're mad about it. I just figure better just let hey, not
simmer out there.
It's not super cheery Van Pelt. Although I don't know how much of that you guys have seen lately, or ever.
There was super cheery Van Pelt yesterday eating that sandwich.
Yeah, when Russillo brings in the treats, and there was a cupcake. Today, no sandwich, no cupcake.
The bacon, Rob says.
Man, that was good stuff. Yeah, I think I'm all right.
SVP and Russillo. Miguel Cabrera leads the Detroit Tigers into Anaheim to face Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels. The pregame's at 7 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN2 and on ESPN Radio.